放つ風よ時の朝へこの想いはいざよいに凛としたあなたと同じ倒られぬ花
Sometimes we have to do bad series.
So
this is one of them.
we don't have to do it sometimes. I mean, at the very least, we didn't mean to do it this time.
Yes. Hello and welcome to the Thom and Joe show. We'll get to what we're talking about. This is like the first of a duo of things where we went, let us rummage in the proverbial bargain bin of like this is the thing. We do a podcast and we've talked about like stuff we would describe as like the good shit. I don't think we've done an episode like to date where we have gone, with the possible exception of the airsofting anime I've already forgotten the name of, which indicated how little impact I had on me. Joe, help me out. What was that called?
Which one?
The airsofting one. The one.
Oh yeah, I have
like,
I have it over here. I've been meaning to get
yes.
it like cross, gun or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I have cordless headphones.
Yes. Joe is going to do real-time research for us. Anyway, but yeah, we tend to do good stuff on the Thom and Joe show, and this is the first of a duo of things where we sort of rummage in the proverbial bargain bin of anime and go, this is like the other 90% of stuff that, most people forget about, or, that stuff that, like, nobody ever watches in their life, and we're going to start that with a series called Hakuoki.
Okay, and the series you put in is Aoharu Cross Machine Gun.
Aoharu X Machine Gun. There we go, yeah. So on the Thom and Joe show, my name is Tom.
My name is Joe.
And we are talking... So we're talking about... We're going to narrow it down, because Hakuoki is one of these big sort of franchises that's been going for a surprisingly long time. They have been like so many of these games. It's wild how many of these games there's been. There's like 5 or 6 of them, and yeah. The original game came out in like 2008, and they've sort of not really stopped making them since, and they've not really stopped making anime of them since. Yeah. So this is sort of like. This is a series on paper that should be my shit, because it's so there's gonna be like a lot of historical talking about for a show that really doesn't do very well at being a historical show. So we're in the period of, so just phrases, we're in the period of Japanese history where basically Commodore Perry has sailed into Tokyo Harbor and gone, you are opening the country now, please. And the reaction to this from the Japanese, from like the average Japanese, is not great. This is sort of like, this is cataclysmic, there are various forces who want to, get rid of the which are actually the Shinsengumi. The Shinsengumi kind of basically have this whole ethos of Sono Joy, which is revere the emperor, expel the barbarians, and by the barbarians we mean the West. And you basically have loyalists towards the show. Basically, obviously, the fact that there's, for anyone who obviously, there's a lot of anime and manga set in this period. There is obviously Gintama, which is sort of, a parody of this period, which sort of obviously then goes, hey, what if aliens then invaded? There's sort of stuff like Peacemaker Kuragane. There's other series, which I'm not going to mention because I legally am not allowed to do so. Which, yeah, Joe knows which series. Joe knows exactly which series was set in the aftermath of the, a series I am not going to mention nor support. So essentially, basically, there were two sides. There was the shogunate forces who were basically, let's keep doing all of what we want to do, and the sort of the factions obviously supported the emperor, and who supported a degree to a degree of popular of opening the country and further thing. I mean, the shogun was basically running the place, and a lot of the imperial forces essentially regarded him as sort of stymieing Japanese in thing. And obviously the country had been closed to the west for 200 years at that point. Which is where kind of obviously there was the Shinsengumi, which were basically the Ronin squad, who basically were, and there's obviously I am not a Japanese, I gotta preface this by going, I'm not a Japanese historian. I am an aficionado of a lot of Japanese pop culture. I know my way around Japanese history, but this is sort of there are books about this that you can read. There are basically the Japanese, there are dramas which go into this into almost microscopic detail. Kind of the biggest one with which was Shinsengumi, which was ironically enough a series called Shinsengumi, which came out in 2004, which kind of basically kick-started this whole revitalization, this whole sort of sensibility of hey, the Shinsengumi are kind of cool in a very doomed youth sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and obviously from that you got a boom in a lot of things. We'll get to sort of
and it kind of gets messy, especially with this series, because you don't really get what anybody's after besides the main forces overlooking it, because I just based on watching this series, I did not understand what everybody was fighting about, because I thought the emperor was kick out the foreigners, but then and the shogunate wanted to, but then it switches places where the Shinsengumi then get hunted by Western weapons like rifles and all of this stuff. I literally did not understand what the end goal is for anybody and what they were trying to do besides the Shinsengumi just trying to keep the peace. And I'm sure...
Yeah, I should correct at this point, the Sonojoi was very much an imperial point of view, and basically Kyoto was a hotbed of political anti-shogunate and political, and essentially the shogunate basically set up the Rosengumi as basically. And this is sorry, that's me kind of trying to bloody remember.
At this point in history, there's the shogun, there's the emperor, and the shogunate, which is the shogun is the person who leads the military, and they are in control of the country right now. And
which was basically the Tokugawas and had been. Is it the thing? The Tokugawas had been in charge of the country since 1603, 1604. And basically ran the country till 1869. This is this is basically the political dynasty of that period. And by that point, everything had become very very stagnated in terms of military thing, which is why basically you have later in Hakuoki you have running a load of guys in guys with swords against large amounts of people with guns is not a sound military strategy.
No, there's the climactic moment in The Last Samurai will tell you that.
Yeah.
But so the weird thing about this point of Japanese history is there's stuff you can kind of compare it to, but not really. When we get into the Meiji era, it's kind of like the Restoration, but it's not like the Restoration. And so
it's difficult to it's difficult to draw direct political. Honestly, from a political point of view, the modernization of Japan is the only thing you can really compare it to. Is the sudden explosion forward of Russia under the Soviets, where it suddenly goes from 95% of our economy is agrarian and we don't have railways for the majority of our landmass to here's a train, you're working in a factory now.
Mm-hmm.
and a sort of to a certain sentimentalization. We're getting ahead of ourselves, and that's really a period after, you know, the whole thing of the thing is the kind of important thing to sort of to sort of talk about before we sort of go into Hakuoki is this is very much a romanticized period, because hey, these are like, you know, there's like several like prestige dramas on this period of various people who are like important on both sides, and you know there is a degree of hey, this is a, you know, this is essentially a civil war, and it's a civil war as much based on ideas and how where the country should be going, and from that you get, you know, industrious like the guy who set up Mitsubishi, you know, was in this period, and you know you have, you know, a lot of political thinkers who would basically influence the next sort of 60 years of Japanese, you know, Japanese sort of, you know, foreign affairs, etc.
Yeah, and one of the bit well, it's again something we can kind of compare it to. It's like when you have it's kind of like it during the Civil War, and we have like lawmen and the Wild West, and like that's kind of what the Shinsengumi are, but not really. It's just like the big problem for me is explaining all of this, because I've gone through like at Anime Insider magazine and now through what the Shinsengumi are, and you know, kind of wrapped my head around it, but it's there in my head, but getting it out of that my head box is because it's a complicated time, and people switch sides, and it kind of feels like some of the philosophy is essentially nonsense next to, you know, spoiler for the series.
Yeah. And on top of that, you have a hefty dose of, you know, various writers and various people take, you know, sides on this, and you know, a lot of the depiction from, as I said, from popular culture is kind of like there is an undeniable romanticization towards the Shinsengumi, despite the fact they were basically like, if we're going to be entirely honest, they were basically hired thugs. They were basically guys who went around, you know, indiscriminately murdering people, you know, for political gains. You know, there are some very good, you know, some very very good works. You know, obviously these are very influential upon, you know, Japanese, you know, popular culture, and you know, these are characters who sort of like recur in, you know, in Japanese popular culture. You know, for example, like most of the characters in Battleship Yamato are named after members of the Shinsengumi. It's also extremely kind of funny because the Shinsengumi kind of came back like in the last 6-7 years under Reiwa Shinsengumi, which are a Japanese left-wing political party run by
as like, it's weird, but I mean, would you compare them to the South in the Civil War? But that's not really fair.
It's basically like an American left-wing political party. I think we said this at the time, you know, when obviously I meant they actually obviously won seats in like the most recent Japanese election. It's like somebody calling like a left-wing, you know, like a really left-wing Japanese British or American political party, the Minutemen. It's like, it's a very strange, you know, select, you know, they are essentially a pro-Palestinian left-wing pacifist, you know, anti-corporation, you know, anti-neoliberal political party who have borrowed the name of basically these romanticized sort of like like pro it's
emperor,
a very
I
Japanese
believe,
politics is well, anti-imperial
Like,
pro shogunate thing. It's like it's a very strange. Yeah, it's a very strange thing to
pro-military,
name a political party.
which is
it's very odd. It's an intriguing sort of sensibility thing in Japanese politics, and it's sort of yeah. Anyway,
and if we get a lot of this wrong,
aside,
like I've been like, my brain has been melting trying to like explain this, and it's been wrong.
Yeah.
So we are very sorry. It's
we
just
are not.
very
We are not. Yeah, we are hobbyists. At the end of the day, we are guys who this. And the problem is, and as we'll get onto it, Hakuoki is also not very good at explaining what's going on.
It has no political thoughts. It has not a lot of anything.
It's
not
a lot of thoughts.
you know those people who say keep politics out of this or that? What happens is you get this, which is nothing. And, I had to ask you a pointed question, like, not at you, but, like, what
at
reason does the anime series have to exist? Like, what is its goal? What is it trying to do? Because I watched the first season, and we are just covering the first season. Like, I do not know what it wants to do. Does it want to be this girl who falls in with these historical figures and she's in love with all of them, but which one shall she choose? Not really.
Yeah.
Is it like an account of these people? No, not really, because we threw in demons and devils and, tainted blood into this. Or, medicine or whatever else.
Is it a supernatural series? Not really, because it's...
Not really.
Yeah.
And, like, is that a metaphor for anything? No. It is metaphor for devils and demons exist in this thing, but do they do anything, really? Not really.
No. And I can't even say that this is this is the first half of, like, the season, because this is, like, it does its whole, like, rounded thing. It's not like, obviously, like, the final thing on, like, the first ending of the Fast Enough episode is, by the way, season 2 is coming quickly, but it's like, no, you need to stand on your own. You can't just go, everything's going to be explained in the second half of this. It's like, then why is it being marketed under a completely different name and, months later? It makes no sense. It's a series we will get into, but why it's bad. But it's like, do not come into this series expecting a good adaptation of Hakuoki, B, a good adaptation of what is actually happening in Japanese history, or C, a particularly good anime. Because it's... Yeah, there's this material has been done better. There were two films in 2013, 2014, which I think do this better, but it's still not great.
And what this really feels like is this feels like a 2004 anime where Inuyasha is huge. What have you got that has a girl and, something that says past Japan? It doesn't have to be... and maybe supernatural elements. What do we got on... Okay, we got this thing where, it has those things, but it doesn't really play to
not to
anything.
The competency, no. No, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say Inuyasha is a particularly good historical series, but it's a decent series, and it uses its historical background fine. I still think the best anime set in this era of Japanese history, of the era of realistically the end of the Edo period, the beginning of the Meiji Restoration, is still Gintama, and it's always going to be Gintama, because Gintama goes, well, this is ridiculous. This is inherent, even without the aliens and even without all the weirdness of Gintama. It's like, this is an inherently stupid era of Japanese history in which a lot of people died realistically for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't hold back in going it's sort of pseudo, Meiji Restoration era shenanigans, which happen obviously mostly pre-series. And I haven't watched all of Gintama, so if I'm wrong on this, please do correct me. But this was an inherently stupid time. A lot. Our protagonist's history it is basically an attempt to recreate this, and it's like, yeah, that was stupid. Let's not do that again. Where do we start with this? Because there's two kind of obvious things to comment about this before we sort of get into the meat of this. First, this is I believe this is our first Studio Deen series.
Yes.
Studio Deen are an interesting group of people.
Yeah.
They kind of they had a reputation when I was working as you were working, and obviously slightly before for Infinite Rainy Day, in that sort of early 2010s period. They had a habit of basically being the bargain basement studio that would just basically do anything for a buck. They just basically they'll do they did so much crap in the the 90s and early 2000s, but they did the not great hit. They did the they did some good stuff. They had obviously some money spinners Fruits Basket, and did Fate Stay, the original Fate Stay Night, and
which is
some
not
other stuff
as well regarded.
But they also but they also had a habit of doing stuff that first off, they were the premier boys love studio, because they did so much BL. It was they did Gravitation, Tactics, which is a very good BL supernatural series. They did, unfortunately, Shunshou Romantica, but they also did a load of trashy stuff the Higurashi anime, which is one of my guilty pleasures, but isn't great. Maria Sama, Vampire Knight, if you could name a mid-tier anime from the 2000s, or including the next series we're talking about, if as I note from going down here, they kind of seem to have got a little bit of that reputation lost now, because they sort of there are more bottom feeder studios than them, and they kind of basically now really act as they for some reason they got given this, they co-produced the Sailor Moon films, the most recent ones. But they kind of ended up as the sort of the bargain basement of things, and I don't think they ever quite lost that, and it kind of very much stymies a lot of people's opinions of them, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked through a couple of, and there's not a whole lot. They did Super Lovers, which is one of my worst series of all time, and I have to put this is radioactive, do not touch it, dead dove, do not eat series for covering it on this one. You can do it if you pay a very high price, and I don't think we have.
There is not enough money in the world to get me to do that, unless you are donating a full-figure sum to a charity, as simple as that. Would you like to know what else they animated, Joe, which we have talked about in the last few months?
What's that?
They animated Angel's Egg.
Oh yes, of course. Well, they had money during the bubble era.
Everybody had money during the boom.
I mean, everybody did, but they worked on Urusei Yatsura, Meisana Koku, Ranma Half, so they had all of that with under that.
And now they're doing Hitali, and that's another series we're never doing unless somebody pays us a large amount of money.
And then they did that series from this era that we are not covering. I mean, some of it at least.
Neo Yokio. Neo Yokio.
No. But
Oh no, we're never doing Neo Yokio. You do not deserve our large Toblerone.
well,
Why did we let Vampire Weekend make an anime, Joe?
I don't know. But there's Eat Man from 1997, which I've watched. It is the owner of B Train making what he would make from then on, which is just these extremely cheap series that have something interesting about them. Some would argue once he got to B Train, everything just went to shit. But at least Eat Man is the same style where there is no budget. And this is Yuki Kajiura on the music, but she was an engineer for the longest time, so all she knows is sometimes is pressing 2 buttons on the synthesizer. And I worked on the same synthesizer in electronic music in 8th grade, so I could recreate some tracks from the score just by going to that synthesizer and pressing the 2 keys she pressed for that entire track. So we all have to start somewhere, but
You do. And then there's the other sort of bizarre little moment of this series, which is Ko Otani is doing the soundtrack for some reason. I don't understand what he's doing here. I don't think he knows.
He scored that.
Yeah.
And Outlaw Star would be the one you would most know him from, unless you watch Gundam Wing. Yeah. And a lot of Gamera films. Yes, Gamera.
Which is fair enough, And Shadow of the Colossus, which is an all-time really good atmosphere.
Yeah.
He just seems to be here for some reason. Even weirder, when they did the animated films, for the anime films, and they're not adaptations. They went back and reanimated. They obviously went back and just did the whole narrative again. They got Kenji Kawai to do the soundtrack for the 2 Hakuoki films. So God knows somebody at Studio Deen just obviously has a black book on anybody who does anime soundtracks.
Kenji Kawai is Mamoru Oshii's composer generally, and has done a lot of amazing things. If you've the beginning of Ghost in the Shell, that is probably his most well-known stuff.
Yeah, but anyway, so those 2 people aside, this is kind of a lot of people who don't really otherwise have much to say. I mean, the 2 major writers on this, or the major writer on season 1 was Ryoto Yamaguchi, who's otherwise most notable for writing Escaflowne and the Canon TV series, and a few other sort of things like Sailor Moon, and yet another anime journeyman who sort of basically might have a couple of things that you've heard of, but basically just goes through the industry working on various bits and pieces.
Sorry.
Another series we should get around to doing at some point. Yeah, but that's basically it. The production team there is nothing on any of these people. This is not quite the sort of the dungeon, but this is sort of not really nobody's putting this on the CV right at the top. It's the voice cast isn't really very much. There's a couple of voice actors I think I vaguely heard of on this. Miyano Mamoru is Miyano Mamoru who isn't in this series. He's basically the big. I'm literally just going through the various major part members of the cast, and there's a couple of the protagonist, the main voice actress for our protagonist, who is Chishuru, is Hoko Kushiyama. I can't really tell. I don't really know of any characters that. Yeah.
She was Elma in Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's by our comparisons, another journey, another reasonably common journey.
And she's
it's
also
like,
the
hey,
Japanese version of Mei Ling. So she's mostly known for game stuff.
Yeah, she's in Soul Calibur as Xiong Mini. She's in Clannad. I mean, everyone's in Clannad though. This is kind of the thing. We get voice actresses who voice. Oh, she's Primrose in Octopath.
Okay, yes.
Neat. That's and Android 21, but I don't think she's Android 21's an original voice actress. No. Oh, she's in One Piece as well. But again, it's like, these are the things. We get to series like this, and it's like, you've kind of maybe, like, heard of, like, one voice actor in this, or, there's a couple of, like, major characters in this who, like, may have, like, a voice actor you've heard of. I mean, the main love interest who is, there's kind of like 3 or 4 major love interests, but the most notable one is Tojo Hijiki, who's played by Shinichiro Miki, who is again another person who does a lot of video fighting game voice actors, and Roy Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, kind of. Yeah, this is like I hesitate to call this bargain basement anime, but it's sort of the sort of thing that sort of does turn up in bargain basement, sort of in bargain bits. And should we just get on with this? Because it's like the problem. So the main premise is basically our heroine is Chishuru. She is basically looking for her father. She turns up in Tokyo and is immediately sort of threatened by white-haired samurai fury. They use this term furies throughout. So the Japanese word that they are using is, and he manages to completely lose the flipping page, Rasetsuku or Rashka, which is obviously these sort of like, they basically had spoilers. This sort of blood drink that basically, water of life elixir, that basically turns them into bloodlusting berserkers, as one does. Yeah.
And
the problem I have with this immediately is, let's just get this out. Chishuru is not a great protagonist.
No. And she starts out and like she gets attacked and she doesn't know what to do and she's saved by the Shinsengumi. Okay, fine, that happens.
Yep.
She's not a fighter. Okay, and so she gets begrudgingly admitted into the Shinsengumi, even though they're a group who are very secretive, and they talk about killing her because she saw them, saw the Furies, which we'll get why they're so concerned about that later. But so okay, so she's gonna train the blade, or she's gonna do something, and she kind of just takes care of dinner, like checks in on people from time to time, and just hangs out at the meetings. She never becomes really better at anything except being there.
Yeah. I hesitate to call it, like, I appreciate, obviously, this is based on a dating sim video game where the protagonist is intended to be a blank slate, where you, the player, basically go, because this is let's be upfront, this is an adaptation of an otome game. We are not the ideal audience for this. This is a very much otome games, for those who have not come across the concept before, are female orientated dating sims. I mean, when we did My Life as a Villainess, that is basically a pastiche, a parody of that sort of genre of things, where you usually have a female protagonist, and you usually are thrown into a situation, and oh my god, there are 4 or 5 sort of different looking boys who you have to pick between, and sometimes there's like, if the game is very progressive, there might be a girl, or there might be a robot or a demon sort of character, and it's like, this is basically the bread. There's a lot of adaptions of these, and this isn't one of the better ones.
Yeah. the thing is, I would understand, even though it's not for me, what it's trying to do. It is not trying to be a dating sim. I mean, which is
No, no.
fine. I mean, if you want to take the aspect and you want to make it something better, cool. That's fine. But it's not
Yeah.
doing that. It's not really doing the historical thing because it just skips around at will. And it just like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was what we called the Battle of blah, blah, blah. And it's just like with no importance or ceremony.
And then Kyoto burnt down.
Yeah, they just.
Because it does.
Oh, by the way, they burned
then,
down Kyoto. It's just a thing that happens. You know, we didn't feel we needed to put that in there.
Nope.
And everything. I mean, to put it in blunt terms, everything is a tool that you can use for something. The guys, the main character, the historical fact, whatever you want. But they sit there.
Yeah.
All of them don't have a use. Like, you're not using this for anything. And it's like, it's not like a case of somebody using a screwdriver as a hammer. Just nobody is using the screwdriver for anything. It's just there existing. And like, yeah, that's a screwdriver. Yeah, those are the historical figures. And like,
there they are doing something. It'd be nice if the protagonist did something.
Yeah.
You know, she is armed with a sword and is... Okay, this is the kind of the other problem. It's like, we basically... I don't want to use the word because I don't think she's actually even a particularly good example of it. But she is basically a Mary Sue. She's like, oh, I have, you know, the demon... Yeah, because she's also, spoilers, a demon, like, from this background where, you know, she is a demon. And... her brother, who briefly turned up, and I had to genuinely remember, I had to genuinely then go and Google who the hell this guy was, because he was not introduced, like, in any, like, way, shape, or... I had to go, who's this? And literally, like, pause the anime I was watching it, going, right, what did they say his name was? Google's the character. You know, that's not good. I don't want to be...
Yeah,
I don't want to be sort of, you know, he is, like...
especially considering...
Yeah, he gets...
Doesn't she also have a twin sister? Or
no, the twin sister is the twin brother.
Okay, yeah.
Is the brother?
It's one of those.
He's a pretty boy who cross dresses, and therefore, you know, as he's an identical twin, which is, by the way, here's a fun thing: you don't get different sex identical twins.
No,
it doesn't happen.
That's not how this works.
Yeah. Hello, Final Fantasy XIV players. This may surprise you. Yeah, but no, this is the thing. Like, the series kind of basically spent about the first 2 episodes sort of setting up a reasonably quite complex series of building blocks of, okay, there's this thing that makes people turn into demons. Okay, there are all the historical Shinsengumi guys. Okay. Our heroine obviously has something going on because she is able to heal and she's disguised herself as a boy and she's looking for her father who's, you know, fallen in with nefarious types. Fantastic. And then it spends the next 10 episodes going, those sure are some building blocks. These are really well arranged and everything. You know, I can... I'm gonna look at them. They look really good. Oh, it's episode 12. Oh, we should have done something with those.
These sure are historical events happening, and it's weird that we have to wait until the end to explain that this has historical significance.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate, like, the thing is, for a Japanese audience is going to go, oh, right, that's the da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, the problem is like, there's 2 kind of things I want to go with this. It's, 1, cool. Oh, you're an otome game. Cool. There are good otome game adaptations where I'm not sort of sat there looking at the protagonist and going, you could literally replace her with a piece of wood with like 3 things written on the piece of wood, which are, oh no, something has happened to the boy or boys I like. Oh no, something has happened to, you know, something has happened to my father. Or, oh, I hope I'm useful some point. No, Chishuru, you're not useful. You, like, literally, you, like, learning how the sword that you were carrying around from the start of the series to the end of the series, that I think you draw twice, that would be useful. I would be less annoyed with you You're just annoying and not particularly like I don't want to sort of harp on about female characters and the idea of if you're not being an active part of your own story, then you're useless, which I think is a really reductive and really silly way of approaching a character who historically wouldn't have been allowed to wouldn't have had the freedom to fight obviously of the male characters. But you need to do something with her. Mm-hmm. Like the games do.
Yes.
The games you are adapting, the visual novel that you have, I presume your staff have played or been, given a Cliff Notes edition or, at least a script for and go, adapt that, rather than going, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to just sit and look at our blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst is the spread of guys. It's very confusing sometimes to tell who's what, because they all exist on this triangle of I'm gonna say leader.
Yep.
And then there's scholar, and at the other side there is bro dude, or if you want, or McDonald's, whatever you want to do. So and rather than these people being distinct parts of it, they are more like how the colors fade into each other. Like they are not a specific thing, they are just a blend. And
I particularly feel that with Sanosuke and Hakuoki, which is particularly hilarious because Sanosuke is one of the few guys who isn't carrying a samurai sword. He's carrying a spear. He is visually distinct from them by the fact he has a spear. And Hakuoki is sort of the small twinkish one.
Yeah, he is kind of the cat boy, the rambunctious cat boy, who I thought would be your favorite, but I don't know.
No. Would you like to know who my favorite from this series is?
Who?
It's Saito, actually.
Okay, well,
that's an unexpected call. I frankly actually I don't like any of them. I actually like our good old friend who sort of turns up for 3 or 4 episodes. I actually kind of like Chikage, who's like, hey, I actually want to have a motive and I want to do something here. And it's like, oh my god, actually somebody who wants to do something and not sit around. And it's like, oh, he's also a demon and therefore has a personal vendetta against our heroine and actually has agency and basically is doing his own stuff in the background with his 3 or 4 friends. And it's like, right,
and
sure would have been nice to see him more than once every 4 episodes.
And it's just so bizarre. You can do this correctly where they are a third party. The demons themselves are a third party, just putting themselves into this because they can give themselves a stake of this country's future. But that's not what they do. It's just they're essentially we're here to take you. We're going to take you. You're a demon. We're going to take you. And then they never do. And then she's and then Chishuru is just but I want to stay here. I don't know why she wants. I mean, I guess it's pleasant enough after they, stop threatening to kill her, but there's nothing that
pretty much
pulls her there. There's no attraction. There's no okay, I want to be this warrior. There's nothing.
She has no drive.
She has
That's
no
the problem
drive
with her.
besides
She's
finding her father, which spoiler, she doesn't do in the first. I mean, she figures out her father is into some weird things, but none of it has any heat. None of it has any. How's this? I will tell you this one thing. She relies on other people to get information about her father. She doesn't try to find it out. Haisuke is going to this one city, and it's I'll find something. I'll see what I can find. It's just oh, I went to your house. There's no one there, and no one knows anything. Gee, thanks. That was fantastic. Thank you for. Well, how would Conan O'Brien put it? Thank you, Frankenstein, for wasting a minute of our time.
Yeah, it's just like the problem with this is, as I said, and there's many problems with this. The animation, ironically, isn't one of the problems. This is quite well animated for like mid 2010 Studio Deen. There's nothing I can remember being off model. The problem is a couple of the boys do sort of blend into each other, particularly during fight scenes. The fight scenes are actually decently animated. I can't really just complain about them. The problem is you basically get like this amorphous massive boy, and it's sort of like you have basically Saito, who is distinct because he's like, hey, he's the loner and he's sort of off in the corner doing thing, and ironically would probably be one of the few people to actually survive the entire period, because he wasn't like, didn't do stupid reckless impulsive stuff. I don't actually remember what happens in the series or whether he does survive, but I know obviously historically he survived. Like, he was actually one of the few members of the Shinsengumi to entirely survive the Boshin War, etc. Mostly by changing sides towards the end.
Which is...
You may be unsurprised.
What surprises me is how unsurprising, like, all of this is. Like, there is a moment where this person of an opposite political spectrum joins the Shinsengumi, and they're all like, oh, he's just a spy and he's here to talk shit on us. And turns out he's a spy and he's there to talk shit on and take, a bunch of the people in the Shinsengumi away. Yeah. But, including some of our boys, but, beyond Heisuke, who is just like, I just want to know what the other side wants. I want to learn what this other... But of course he comes back to the other side, and then the other two are obviously spies. They don't even try to put any kind of complexity that would allow you to believe in a plot twist, or that there's any hemming and hawing from Chishuru on, well, should I join the demons? I mean, I am one of them. And it's just like, there's not even an idea of what it's like to be her as a demon, because beyond their healing, she doesn't have like blood rage. She doesn't have, desire. She doesn't transform or anything like some of them do. Like, she's just a human who heals fast. That is all. There's nothing that she grapples with. There's nothing that she fights with. Except, basic concept of, you're this, you need to be on this side, but I like these people, so I'm on this side.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the thing. The problem is that it's like, this is a very complex period, and I think it tries to, like, boil it down to, like, we never get, like, any of the opposition. Like, obviously, I appreciate they're not in the Hakuoki game, but, like, again, this is not trying to be a game clearly not trying to be a game adaptation. And it's like, our rivals are interesting characters, and it's like, hey, why don't we have a little bit of no, we're not sort of trying to make these characters the least bit interesting. I see, right. That's the problem. The most of the Shinsengumi boys just turn into this amorphous sort of like, my main character personality thing is slapped on my forehead. I am either taciturn or very, very, honor based, or I am a dude bro who likes to go to partying.
Yeah. I like to have fun. I like to eat food. I like to hang out with the boys, and like to flex my muscles when we're getting a medical examination. Which is the weirdest point to play into the kind of otome dating thing, is like they're showing off their muscles, or at least one of them is, when they're going through a medical exam. That is like, no, this is the... Right. I had physicals in high school. This is the turn your head and cough. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're just trying to make sure you don't have the plague.
The one girl here has the basically the emotional range of a plank of wood. She's not going to be like interested in you. there's only other boys here, mate. Sorry. It's like, yeah, I mean, there is Taboo, which is a film directed by, I mean, there is, like, by the way, there is, like, you know, there is queer Shinsengumi stuff. You may be unsurprised to find that out.
No.
Bizarrely enough, I think it's one of the last films by, I've forgotten the director, but it's, yeah, you know, it's kind of like, the problem with this series, like, and the two characters who are meant to be, like, part of, like, apart from amorphous mass of boy are Toshizo, who's sort of, like, basically, for most of the series, acts as sort of Chizuru's kind of basically protector.
Mm-hmm.
But he never seems very good at it. It's like, yeah.
But
hello, sir. This is meant to be your job to look after. No, apparently not.
no, because she's going out. She draws a sword for the 10th time and threatens, but she didn't actually work on anything, and she doesn't have any demon abilities.
Yeah.
So she just fails again, and then somebody saves her from the shadows, who saw her wander off this whole time and were like waiting. And that's just how these things solve themselves.
Yeah, and like, this is the thing. There's like, I mean, we could go through this episode by episode, but it's almost pointless because it's basically just, guess what? Some historical events happen. Chizuru sort of vaguely reacts to them with the emotional sort of like speed of a goldfish and goes, there's sure are some historical events happening, and I hope my father is okay, and that. And then the demon boy, every couple of episodes, the demon boys turn up and go, hey, we're going to threaten you and sort of do some mysterious stuff behind the scenes. But what are we doing? Oh, well, actually, we're not going to tell you until, like, later on. And, oh, no, it's episode 12. How did we not do anything until episode 12? Better actually fight somebody. Oh, right.
And the weird thing is, nobody ever really gets better. Nobody really, like, changes. I mean,
Okuta definitely doesn't get...
Like,
Okuta definitely doesn't get better.
You know, certain change within it after they reveal the plot twist with whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the life
The water
drink,
of life.
and there's that one change, and then there's the thing at the end where, you know, the quote-unquote main guy, if you can call him that, eventually decides to become, you know, this demon warrior person and fights back. That's the one time, but everybody else is like, they don't get better fighting. Like, every time it's just like, oh, you think you're a demon, you think you can challenge, you're better than me, and then they break out the weapons and they fight, and wait, you are better than me. And this is every time, and nobody has like a tactic where they can, you know, sneakily get something in. It's just clang, 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 clang. Oh, I lost again.
Oh, apart from Kyo, who goes, hey, do you know what I'm going to bring? I'm going to bring a gun. And he's like, which makes Kyo the smartest character in the entire series.
Yes.
He's just like, I am going to bring a handgun to a fight, and I am going to look amazing while doing it because I have found the most useful thing against samurai, which is our friends Smith and or Weston.
Bang.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, and then there's like, you know, this is the problem. Chikage's guys are kind of interesting, and then you've got like Kyuju Amoragi, who is, hey, 19th century, circa 1990s James Hetfield, which makes two animes I've seen where it's like the dude chin beard thing.
Yeah.
It's like, where did we, 91 days and now this?
And he just punches people.
What a strange world.
Just punches people.
He punches people. He's like, I don't need a sword, I'm gonna punch people in the face. And that's like kind of our antagonists, and they turn up about 3 times in the series, and I don't even think they kill anybody in the actual series.
Well,
any major characters.
Any major characters, like, there's some who die at the end. They do kill some people, but it's just like these 3 soldiers in the road in episode 12, and then, you know, they take care of like side people, but most of the people who die in the war or the battles.
yeah. To be fair, the battles are like where the series actually kind of tries to make a point. It's trying to go. Guess what? These guys are not doing well against firearms.
Yeah.
It's almost as though, you know, this represents, in a really ham-fisted way, the samurai era is whether these guys are going to fight, or, you know, whether these guys are going to win, or the emperor's going to, or the imperial forces are going to win. This whole sensibility and this way of warfare is on the way out, and that is kind of ironically the whole. I think the allure, to a certain extent, of the Shinsengumi is basically this last moment of like trying to do the despite the fact that none of them were actually samurai.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing we need to kind of.
They're
they weren't
Ronin,
actually samurai. They were basically.
Which is probably
they're
they're like I said, they're Wild West lawmen. They're kind of their credentials aren't exactly like you know 100% legit, but depending on whom you ask. But you know, there's a cool like I don't know. It's like rebellious cops, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean,
like I said, there's a lot of things you can compare it to, but it's not quite right. It's this own little thing.
Yeah. I mean, very much so. That sort of style of the Shinsengumi jacket and that sort of, you know, sensibility of these outlaw samurai, I think really kind of like, you know, bled through to, you know, Japanese alternative fashion. You can certainly draw a line between that and, you know, Japanese sort of bike outlaws and etc. That sort of sensibility to a degree. You know, I'm extrapolating here. The kind of the biggest insult I think with this though is it kind of fumbles Okita. Like, how do you fumble Okita Soji being given like this sense of this thing of going, hey, you're dying of tuberculosis and like, you know, basically this incurable sort of, you know, thing, and here is an ability to sort of like give you, you know, strength and power back. How have you fumbled this, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody else is like every other adaption of like, you know, Shinsengumi like stuff manages to go, hey, do you know what? There's a real sadness and a real sort of, you know, degree of, you know, really, you know, particularly there's obviously the sense with Okita most of all is sort of perhaps the you know, Shinsengumi where he's sort of like he is dying of like, you know, tuberculosis and, you know, in a period where basically, hey, everybody's sort of like dying around him, and, you know, there's a obviously, you know, a lot of Japanese pop culture really romanticizes that.
Mm-hmm. Well, to the point
know,
where
so many versions.
Like tuberculosis is the signs of tuberculosis are the anime code for this person is dying. Like in a 1920s film, if somebody's coughing, that means they're dead by the end of the movie. And any time during a 1920s. In Japan, if they're coughing up blood, that is a sign they're dying, which is tuberculosis, mostly an internal injury, which fair.
Yeah, there's a very strange thing. I have a little figure of the Fate Stay Night version of Okita, which is, of course it's fucking Saber, because of course it's bloody Saber. And Saber, my little Saber figure comes with a coughing up blood part, which is like one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, like associated with the figure. It's like, hey,
comes with its free blood to cough up. For the figure.
It was one of those things. It was when I unboxed it. Went, hang on, what? There's a blood coughing up part. What a strange thing.
Yes.
You know, that's the thing. That's how, you know, how much Okita has sort of like ended up as part of like Japanese pop culture. But you know, this is the thing. And they fumble it. And they completely fumble it. It's like, how have you done this? How have you managed to like make every single, like, how have you managed to get Okita Soji, you know, stuck in the amorphous boy blob? It's so bizarrely nothing. It's just a nothingness, and it's sort of like it's kind of depressingly a nothingness.
And like the nothingness doesn't have a purpose. Like Like, all
No.
you have to do is lean into something. Just lean on
Yeah.
it. Just don't just stand there and
Something, please.
like occasionally look around at all of these things you have assembled or you brought into the room,
Yeah.
play with them, like do an action figure battle or, like make them kiss or something. I don't do something. Good God.
Yeah. It's so, but it's like even that, even he's like, hey, just it's so, and from dim memory, because I have watched this series years ago, when I was a smaller, more impressionable, went, oh my god, Pretty Boy Samurai, and I don't think it gets better in season 2. I think it's just basically more of this. We will not be doing season 2 of this unless someone throws money at me. Us.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like
it's
the people put threw money at Deen. Oh, you're cheap. Yeah, and you're putting the name out there.
3 seasons of this, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
And
it's
OAVs
just so
and movies and
bewildering.
whatever else.
Yeah, and it's like, and the worst thing about it is the final episode where it's sort of like you would expect it to start doing something, and it goes, hey, do you know what? We're gonna turn this character who, like, so basically by the end of the series, we're kind of like, some of our group has been have died, or are like badly injured, and obviously, various, Kazama's sort of, our other factions sort of doing stuff, and we've actually got a battle going on, and the Boshin War has started. It's time to actually for the Shinsengumi to do something. And some of our major characters are now badly injured, and it sort of goes, do you know who'd be really, really good to accompany Chishuru, and to make sure he's this bald nameless man.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this? It's like, oh, it's a guy called Inoue. Inoue is sort of like a supporting character. I don't think he has a root on account of being not a pretty boy.
He is one of the balding people. So there's either the pretty boys or the balding people who don't matter.
The bald. Yeah, they're the historically accurate ones, because like most of these. Yeah. If you look at pictures of like most of the because some of the Shinsengumi were actually photographed. We're getting to the sort of obviously the stuff. This is much more recent than people I think realise, but they've got, some of them have got flowing hair, but most of them have got your typical samurai haircut, or and it's sort of like, this is actually what most of our pretty boys probably actually look like. But never mind. But anyway, and it's like, oh, rather than like any of our, and then they do it again. They go, hey, who would be really, really sad and depressing to get in the middle of this fight between, Hijikata and, our villain. Oh, it's the ninja boy, Yamakaze. It's like, yes, let me, right, right, it's you, the ninja boy. Oh, you're dead. This is meant to be a sad moment.
Yeah, I had to go through my Rolodex to figure out who you were, but okay.
Farewell, ninja boy. Farewell. Yeah. In fact, he's actually may not be. I couldn't work out if he was like dead. Yeah, he was dead. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's the farewell, ninja boy. We saw your like action.
Even if it's like,
it's something that happens.
Even if it's wasn't calculated properly as part of a narrative.
It's episode 12 is at least trying to do something. It goes, hey, something major historical is now going to happen, and some people are going to die. It's not people we care about, but it's somebody.
Yeah. I mean, to explain all of this in one big bow is the plot drop about the Furies, and that the father was working on this medication to create, ultimate soldiers, whatever, or medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and accidentally made part fake demon furies, which, are kind of zombies, kind of, people who lost their mind to blood or
Superpowered,
something,
yeah.
like part vampire, part, zombies, something like that. And these were experiments run in the Shinsengumi. And so it is the Shinsengumi's fault that these things occasionally wander around the town, which is why they are out there and why they are, hunting them, not because these are threats to the people that exist in Japan that they're secretly helping, but that they secretly created. And you would think there's some sort of interesting dynamic or something to grapple with, like regret or,
Good gracious,
some
no.
inner struggle, but there isn't. And in fact, one of them who, they just create this army of furies and we never see them in action except for one little scene that explains, oh, we can kill you. And yeah, actually pretty easily kill you because we have silver bullets.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. That's the entire development of that.
Yep, that's hey, that major thing that's like a drive for our protagonist to sort of understand that would probably be like quite upsetting to her if you go, hey, your dad's literally creating
zombie vampires.
Yeah, your dad's kind of evil. Your dad's doing a lot of very evil things. No reaction whatsoever. He
does leave apparently on his own accord. But he did do these things, and this organization by itself is, even without the politics, you could argue, well, are they really doing a good thing if they're trying to create if they created these furies that they have to, leave in this building somewhere and sometimes wander off and then get blood rage.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
That thing that would be a really cool thing to have, on a battlefield where it's like, hey, guess what's on a battlefield? Quite a lot of blood, unusually. But these guys could, be very friendly fire and go wandering around killing, their own guys. Hey, that would be something of consequence. No, apparently no. We're they can just turn it off whenever they feel like it, as Twink Boy presents to us. Oh, look, there we go. He can actually control it, and actually there's blood supplements, and the blood rage is actually completely controllable. What are we doing here?
What? I mean, this isn't a metaphor for anything. This isn't there isn't any inherent meaning in anything this series does that doesn't exist in the work itself. You have to really dig in the historical stuff if you want to, but this isn't going to give you its own context or its own beliefs or its own interpretation of what this all means. These are just things that happen to them and things they go through, but it never deals with anything it brings to the table.
No, and that's the problem. It's sort of it's basically the best thing I can say about Hakuoki is it looks okay. It looks fine. The rest of the series, frankly, is a number of things happen, some of which are from Japanese history, some of which are basically game plot, some of which are neither, in which our protagonist sits there with all the presence of basically a... You could replace her at great sections of this series with a plushie of herself, which I guarantee they probably do on the internet, and a little plush version of Chishuru observes events and occasionally is gently rotated by one of the cast to sort of face the screen and go, oh no, something is happening to the people I like. It would be really, really cool if I was a real girl and not a plush toy that sort of can only passively observe these events, and my little sword is only made of fabric and printed material. I can do naught but watch, and it's and that is actually less bad than actual series Chishuru.
It's just I can't even get angry at it because
No.
To get angry at it means they worked hard enough to me to get an emotion. Like, I didn't feel anything watching this. Like, it's just like, it is something I put on, I watched for 23 minutes, and then it was over.
And then the next episode started, and the process repeated itself. I mean, it's not even like boring. It's almost, that's the problem with it. It's not boring. There is stuff going on. None of it matters, but it's sort of like it's the sort of the anime equivalent of sort of like one of these long YouTube videos in which they sort of just talk, and you eventually by like episode 4 or 5 you are just glazed over because like nothing is getting through to you, and there is no like payoff for anything, and you know, it's not even, you can't even sit and look at like the you know, from let's say from the perspective of the audience of the thing that is otherwise known as Hakuoki, and go, there sure are some pretty boys to look at, and they're rather nicely animated, and they do pretty boy things. No, because they don't even do that.
It's just 3 hours of setting up the essay, and then when you have to get to the thrust or the argument of the essay, it's just like, oh, I don't have anything. I'm just stating things, or like, you know, okay. Thanks to my Patreons. Here's the next part's gonna come like in 6 months or so.
Yeah. It's just I don't have like I can't be negative about it because there's nothing like it has no lot apart from like a couple of shots and the brother character being actually quite a nasty piece of shit in a really fun way that like no other character in the series is managing to do, and that might have been because I was also playing Final Fantasy XIV and like getting to the end of Stormblood, which has got a very similar sort of little shit character. He's great, by the way. Ashley from Final Fantasy XIV is just like the ultimate little shit character. But that was kind of like the only character who had any impact on me, and I had to go and Google who he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could talk more, but I feel like we've gone in circles over this.
Yeah, I think my verdict is just, I'm not mad with you, Hakuoki, I'm just disappointed.
And I'm just I'm going to forget I've watched this, just like I forgot I watched Peacemaker Kuragane. I don't know if that's an insult on Kuragane, but the part I watched, I do not remember at all, even if they might have had, like, it might have had more of a thrust, it might have had more of anything, but it doesn't, I don't remember it having, I mean, this is going to be more forgettable than that.
Yeah. It's just like, I'm surprised, honestly, this got a dub, but I imagine there is probably enough of a market for people who go, yes, I watched the anime we're not mentioning anymore. I would like more samurai pretty boys to do samurai pretty boy things, but I also need a girl in there because it's getting a little bit too, you know, the girl from this anime series we're not mentioning, you know, has not really very much impact on the plot. Yeah, the impact on the plot from that character from the series, the samurai series we don't mention the name of, has more going on than Chishuru. She is less of a Mary Sue, and yeah. It's just I don't have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
Like the visual novels, I'm sure are lovely. I'm sure this is a perfectly nice thing. This is like got the staying power of a small wet dog in a hurricane.
Or just, you know, most games that try to follow up Love Live, where they're about, you know, drawing girls, you know, like make the baseball one, or the other ones that are just like the Horse Girls or Love Live, where it's just like you have to draw the 5-star girls and then they do whatever. And this is the forgettable one. Like, except
this
boys.
This is really forgettable. Yes. I mean, you could pick out like 5 boys from like, I don't know, Star Honkai Star Rail and make a series around them, and that would be more fun. In fact, they probably don't do that.
I mean, they're mostly 3-star guys, and then maybe a couple 4-star ones, and I don't know.
Nobody is five.
Nobody is a 5-star
pull
in this series.
Game.
There's no 5-star pull here.
You fumbled your 5 stars.
The thing got shut down before they made 5 stars.
Yeah. Joe, please save us. What are we watching next?
So we made a deal that I would watch his trashy series about boys if I could watch my trashy series about girls to a certain extent. So I have the sci-fi series Simone, which it is trashy. It is absolutely trashy, but it is going to be a lot more interesting of a discussion than we have here.
Yeah, there is something going on. I've watched I think the first 2 episodes of Simone, and there is more going on. There's more going on in the first episode of Simone than in the entire pack.
And
I would say
to some people, that's a problem because I've seen the popular anime writers on Twitter, or at least the ANN or some other people, try to watch the first episode of Simone, and they just get lost. They declare it one of the worst first episodes they've ever seen because of a lot of things we'll get into.
Yeah, but anyway, we will be talking about that next, and then after that we will have our music episode where we'll be talking about Utada Hikaru, and it's hey, this is there's something for the boys, there's something for the girls, there's something for the NBs. There we go. We have all the bases covered, and then we'll probably do some more anime episodes. We might be doing I don't know, shorts or something at some point, or we might finally get around to doing that Kadama's episode we've been threatening to do for a while. We just go back through all of our last 6 years of episodes and go, hey, so we forgot to mention this and this. We forgot some things. I mean, it won't be all of the episodes because that's just going to take 5 days, and no one wants to listen to us go, actually, I completely mispronounced this or something. It's going to be a few choice things that were missing from a couple of episodes. But we will leave you with the Samurai Trash Boys, and as we go on to talking about something that actually means something on the next episode of Thom and Joe. I've been Tom.
I've been Joe. And sadly, playing with the boys doesn't work in any context with playing it on random parts of this series. I'm sorry.
No. We're sorry. See you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.